Feel free to get started, Rob.
Do we want to get things kicked off already, or?
Yep.
All right, so I will.
We'll have the customers slowly coming in.
Okay. Why don't you, yeah, Ryan, why don't you start, then I'll start on my slide.
Sure. So thanks everyone for kind of joining. Just a quick intro for kind of what the agenda is going to look like today. So I have Rob Handlowski, who's going to be doing a quick CDW welcome and overview to start off the day. Then we're going to go into the Nutanix Bootcamp session presentation, where we'll go through some slides, have a quick little demo, and then we'll turn it over to the Nutanix lab, where you'll have about 30 minutes, 40 minutes to kind of probably do some of the lab. However, they are open for the next 24 hours. So if we run a little bit long, don't worry, you'll have lots of time to go and do it. And then at the end, we have Trevor, who's our mixologist on the line, who's going to take over and run us through our mixology drinks later today. So I'm going to kick it over to the first slide here for Rob, and I'll let you kind of jump in.
Certainly. And question for you, Ryan, did we want to start with introductions on the group first? Do you want me just to jump in and then we'll do the introductions when, because I know you got a slide kind of walking through your background?
I have a slide for myself. If you want to do a quick introduction for yourself, that was, you can kind of do that for everyone on the call. Sure.
Okay. Well, we'll start with that anyway. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Rob Handlowski. So I lead the enterprise sales team in BC on behalf of CDW. I've been with the company for over a decade now through various acquisitions, actually. I started with a company called Mainland, which provided solutions expertise on infrastructure, predominantly data centers, storage, backup recovery, networking, et cetera. That company was acquired by Scalar, where I took on the role of managing the Alberta territory as well as Manitoba and Saskatchewan, and had a great time. For those of you that are familiar with Scalar, in addition to the data center type of expertise, provided a ton of depth of expertise and investment on security and cloud, and predominantly on professional services and managed services. So that company, near and dear to my heart, on the top right-hand quarter of this slide, was acquired in 2019, where I took on the role of BC about 1.5 years ago, just unfortunately at this time when the pandemic started. So I am still, as I mentioned before this call got started, physically in Alberta. Actually grew up in Poco, and looking forward to getting back to BC as much as possible. I'm there about twice a month and off to Victoria tomorrow. So looking forward to getting the opportunity to meet more of you in person as the situation allows itself. So with that, as Ryan mentioned, I need to just provide a quick background on CDW before we get kicked off on this Nutanix Bootcamp. And kind of like to start with this slide. It provides a good background in terms of the history of the company. Actually, based on my background, when we got acquired by CDW, I actually looked to my financial analyst to get a bit of background on what CDW is all about. And one of the comments that he made at the time was steady and predictable growth over a considerable amount of time, and especially when you take a look at a tech company that was founded in 1984 with these achievements, that's unique in the industry. So CDW founded in '84. Some other dates that are relevant here. In 2003, CDW acquired a company called Micro Warehouse, and that was really the start of CDW Canada. So that was the entry into the Canadian marketplace. Another data point that I like to speak to is 2006 with the acquisition of Burby. Before the Burby acquisition, CDW was predominantly a technology sales and marketing company. Really, the foundation was in the ability to get product from point A to point B, and lots of product, and typically that would complicate things for a lot of other companies to do that very efficiently. But in 2006, really complemented the portfolio with the acquisition of Burby, which added about 1,000 technical resources to the company and really changed the culture of the company, again, from being that technology sales company to that of a solution provider. And that's really been the focus going forward. So as I mentioned, in 2019, near and dear to my heart was the acquisition of Scalar. And Scalar provides and provided solutions around the data center, double down on security, cloud, provides professional services and managed services. So really expanded that portfolio specifically for CDW Canada in our market. 2019 was actually a very busy year for us. So in addition to the Scalar acquisition by CDW, there was Aptris, which is a ServiceNow elite partner. There was IGNW, predominantly a cloud software developer. Also in 2020, CDW Canada was named #1 on the CDN top solution provider list. And I think it's been about a month ago or so, significant acquisition of Sirius Computer Solutions. So not Sirius XM, but this is going to be the largest, which would have been kind of cool from a portfolio diversification standpoint. But no, this is the largest acquisition to date for CDW. It's going to be a $2.5 billion acquisition of Sirius Computer Solutions. And the best way to think about that in Canada is Sirius Computer Solutions in many respects, it looks and feels like Scalar did, just on a much, much larger scale. So again, doubling down on moving forward as a solution provider and top in market. So with that, I guess we can move on to the next slide. So this slide really just provides a quick snapshot of CDW as a whole. So again, as I mentioned on the previous slide, 35 plus years of experience and growth, consistent performance, again, which is quite unique in the industry to have that predictability over so many years. Then if you just take a look at some of the metrics, number 3 on the Fortune 500 as an IT services company in 2019, we were 17 billion in net sales. That number with the Sirius acquisition is actually going to be about 20.5, so a considerable number. About 250,000 customers internationally, and I believe we're at about 10,000 coworkers or so at this point. So moving on to the next slide. Really the focus here on Canada, and this is kind of topical and relevant as well. It seems like when we have discussions with partners and customers, we're all going through this in some way, shape, or form, but this slide says 8 offices. We actually have 9 brick and mortar offices across the country. One of the mandates is to ensure that we have an office in every city that the NHL has as a team, which I think we've excelled and achieved that. Once Victoria gets a team, we'll be in good shape. But the data point that I was getting to in terms of the relevance, we're just going through a pilot on the return to work and the back to the office. It's completely optional at this point, and we're of course looking at ways to enable that hybrid workforce. So that's, I'm sure, something that you're all going through at this point, but hopefully that will continue to move forward. We're on about 1,000 coworkers now in Canada, and something that's really near and dear to our heart that we're very proud of, again, complementing and reinforcing what we mentioned there on the previous slide in terms of the acquisitions and our investments, is the fact that over 1/3 of our coworkers are actually in a technical role, whether that be in a service delivery role or a solution architecture role like Ryan's in. So it's a significant part of our future, and that's where we see ourselves in investing going forward, and that's where we ensure ourselves will be competitive within the marketplace going forward. So with that, I'm going to pass this off to Ryan. We're very excited from a Nutanix standpoint. We are one of Nutanix's top partners nationally, and I've been told that we are the first partner that could actually deliver a boot camp, and we're the first to deliver a boot camp of this nature. So again, kudos to the investments that we've made and folks like Ryan to move this forward. And of course, one of our differentiations, as opposed to the companies in my background that I mentioned that were acquired by CDW and now leading the charge, we have that capability both from a delivery standpoint, from a pre-sale solution architecture standpoint, and of course, a sales standpoint. We have that all nationally and frankly internationally. So with that, I'll pass it off to Ryan to kick us off.
Thanks so much, Rob, and welcome everyone again. So a little bit about myself, because I am going to be the person that's going to be talking basically the rest of today for you. And I do hope that any of you guys are going to be able to come off mute and ask any questions as we go through. Once we get into the lab later today, if you run into any challenges, We have Dan Baker, who is the Nutanix SE, on the call as well. So he will be helping on the back end for any of our labs and any questions that end up stumping myself for it. So from a standpoint, I am a senior solution architect based out of Vancouver. I support Nutanix nationally across the country for all of CDW. If there's anything that you guys are looking for, HCI and EUC is my specialty area. When I'm not doing IT, I am camping, hiking, outdoor enthusiast. I love to travel. I am flying off to vacation down in sunny Mexico as of tomorrow. And also I homebrew beer for it. So I have a 4-tap system, so I have a bit of a passion on my side for that. And with that, I'm going to just kind of reiterate where all of you should be able to leverage someone like myself. So CDW has done the investment for solution architects where we are customer advocates on your behalf. So you can utilize this for POCs, vendor independent reviews. We're here to help you wherever you can to build bombs or just do direction from a higher level technical standpoint. Myself, I've been in this role with CDW, coming over from Scalar for the last 3 years, and helped many organizations do their transformation with Nutanix specifically, whether it's VDI or general purpose workloads to branch offices. I'm just sending some equipment that is going globally to a bunch of mining companies where it's a data center in a box with Nutanix. So really neat, fun solutions, and love where the company is going. Just want to give a quick teaser because some of you might be, we're going to hit the end of the day, about 4:30. I'll tip this over to Trevor to go through the cocktails. Hopefully you all have received them. They look really good and I've been really wanting to try them. So mine's sitting in the fridge right now. So looking forward to cocktail 1, the mojito, and 2, the blood orange habanero. This is probably more up my alley for everyone. I see someone smiling on the camera, Dan over there, I think you're ready for this one as well on it. So talking about HCI, I'm going to have a small presentation just about kind of where it is, level set any of the technology for where it's used, how it might be a benefit to everyone in the organization that you're at right now. And feel free to raise your hand, post a question as we go through. I'll be answering them live as we go through here because I want to make this as interactive as possible. And then we'll get through to the lab. Speaking of the lab, if everyone hasn't yet, I believe you were sent a registration link to sign up for the lab. I do need you guys to fill that out and get ready for that one because we are providing access based on those registrations. So if you haven't yet, please do click on them, and Dan in the background is going to make sure that we are able to give you your username and passwords as they come out. So focus on HCI and Nutanix. I don't know where everyone is on their expertise, but it's hyper-converged infrastructure, and Nutanix's methodology and motto is to really make the underlying hardware seamless for you. So this needs to be very cloud-like to the point that you're focusing on your applications and your data, less about the day-to-day management. So they help with the one-click provisioning, single pane of glass to give you a quick view of how your environment is working, and also providing redundancy in an N+1 fashion. You should be able to do upgrades and firmware patches within a regular business day. I don't know how many of you are still doing patching at like 2 a.m. at night, but that should not be the case anymore. So quick conversation about where Nutanix fits. There is really no place Nutanix isn't going to fit from a hyper-converged standpoint. I have customers in financial sector, healthcare, retail, and in the public sector right now. So wherever you are currently sitting, there is a use case, whether it's general purpose. There is database workloads with Era, Kubernetes, and OpenShift with Nutanix and their brand new Red Hat integrations, or down to EUC and VDI, which is the typical kind of first step into HCI. Was it 7 to 10 years ago? That made it very popular. It's still as popular today, and Citrix is their preferred platform for Nutanix. Like we're talking here, where it's good for. This is just a quick thing. One thing I didn't call it is Splunk, hybrid clouds, enterprise databases that are in there. There's tools which coming down in the future. We're hoping to, as CDW, to lead some of the backup and database conversations, specifically around Era and how to lifecycle your databases on Nutanix to simplify those workloads. One thing, if you're looking at just test driving it, there is a link that I'll be sending out for everyone through the CDW signups here for test drives. This is just a quick way for everyone to jump in. Think of it as like a lab walkthrough where you can figure out which application, data management, hybrid cloud, automation points, and you can test this out firsthand whenever you want. It's a quick sign up, and it'll be provisioned on the back end through Nutanix's cloud platform. So the three topics that when we talk about Nutanix is Acropolis, which is the hypervisor underlying there. So there's Acropolis and AHV, which we'll be talking most about today. Prism is anyone that's used VMware and vCenter. This is the management interface for Nutanix. So it collapses and simplifies the management so that you can have a first glance view of your infrastructure. So you don't have to go through any type of multi windows to see exactly what's happening. You can customize the dashboard to get exact metrics that you want. COM and hybrid automation. That is something that is a very in-depth for provisioning applications through playbooks. That's much more advanced. We're looking at doing another bootcamp in February, most likely, for automation for the enterprise Nutanix course. So really, when we're talking about where HCI is, this is the typical starting point of organizations that are out there where you have your application sitting on some servers connected to a storage network and connected into either a single SAN or multiple SANs that have. So each of these components is an upgrade point, firmware complexity, and added cables when you're looking at there. Plus, there's one part that's not on here is your top of rack switches. So really, it could be almost called 4-tier at that point. So Nutanix's vision for it is to simplify and have a Lego block scale. So buy for what you're needing and then expand out from there in a very simplistic manner. So you can mix and match from storage only node, compute only nodes. You can even have higher density storage or even GPU workloads. Nutanix is able to scale infinitely. So if anyone that has very large environments, we have one customer that's up to 176 nodes in a cluster. So VMware cannot do that today. They are maxing out at 64. So definitely something to take a look at if you're going to ever be that big. However, you might have some questions if you're going to have a single cluster at that size anyways. We might want to really kind of tailor that down from the CDW approach for when I look at some of our customers. So how does Nutanix really make things different? So within your that hypervisor, and that hypervisor could be Acropolis or AHV, it could be VMware, or it could be Hyper-V there. Each of these is going to sit across a distributed storage fabric, and extraction layer to software define across both. That is the AOS component. Now, how that happens within each of these nodes is a controller virtual machine. So this abstracts that controller that would be on your typical SANs, virtualizes it, and distributes it across all nodes so that we're not going to have any single points of failure. On the back end, it's a Cassandra database, so things are always getting written to multiple, and within that, it allows us to have very quick snapshots, the locality. So all your applications that are running on there are going to be running directly on that single node. We're not going to be traversing the back end network to write extra storage. So you're going to get bus level performance on it, depending on whether you're going to go hybrid or all flash. Nutanix has their tiering capabilities to allow you to get flash-like performance off of a hybrid environment because of how they intelligently tier your workload. So as data cools off, it will get moved down to the spinning disk, and then when it becomes hot again, it will get brought back up, and then utilizing that cache area. The biggest difference in hyperconverged versus others is that the cache layer, you actually get to contribute that into your total storage. Other products do not get to do that. The cache layer will not count to any of your total storage. Hence why you can get away with a hybrid environment here versus some other products that are more all flash based. You can enable deduplication. So typically you would have one of your applications might be written to both. We call that a replication factor. You can assign that on a per story level, per application level as well, in there to give you a heightened redundancy. As you scale out, you can move from a replication of 2 to a 3 if you really want to go have enhanced redundancy across nodes, to erasure coding to once you hit that 5 nodes, for it to really kind of get the most out of your storage. Now, I mentioned data locality on here. Now, what does that really mean? It means that your data, as your application is on that node, it's going to be using the exact hardware that's on there. So you're getting almost physical performance from this environment. So that is very important because no other products will do that. If there could be reads that come across the network, which will induce latency. So you get bus speed for your applications. So those really critical tier 0 applications, databases, ERP solutions, SAP HANA, like anything Oracle, those will improve significantly when moving to a Nutanix environment, because you can basically have physical like performance. Now, the intelligent tiering, that really just wanted to touch upon like how it happens. Now, as it cools down, you'll see it'll have the map reduce, so it will leverage multiple tiers of storage. You're gonna have your SSD, PCIe, and then your spinning disk. It will monitor data across both of them, and typically your file data, most files that we're getting will end up probably be touched once, twice, maybe for a week, and then after that it will sit there, and you don't need to have that in a highly performant environment on there. So leverage your spinning disk capabilities to jump into a better performance. Now, every time that we've been talking, or I've been talking recently, we've been talking about hybrid cloud. Now, how Nutanix is the enterprise private cloud. So how does that integrate with your multi-cloud strategy here? Well, Nutanix has ability to run clusters, which you can have your on-premise infrastructure connect up to, let's say, an AWS cluster for it. So if you standardize on AWS, here we've looked at, we have North Virginia, North Carolina, Ireland, Tokyo, as well as 2 on-premise infrastructures. So with Nutanix, you're able to seamlessly manage all of these clusters through the same infrastructure and same management console, and take advantage of any of your public cloud. So you could also look at archiving or running this as a DR environment, or just to take advantage of an AWS feature that your any developers or that need access to. Or let's say right now we're having constraint problems with ordering hardware. This will allow you to spin up a cluster of Nutanix, bring your workloads in there, and transition later on, as Nutanix is a software license. So we can port things around if needed for you in the future. There's a couple points that you're able to do WAN optimization. There's DR runbooks to help you do some of these failovers. And also we can look at doing an easy setup, like it's a couple clicks and you're up and going from a connection standpoint. You can overlay Nutanix's flow to seamlessly have that software-defined networking that spreads across everything from on-premise to the cloud, and put policies across of those as well. Asynchronous replication. So you can have a couple different options here. So I talked about a couple companies that have remote sites where they are protecting with a protection zone from their primary data center to this remote site, and then the remote site being protected back. Now it's completely all customizable within the policy. We'll take a look at that as we dive into the demo a little bit later. And within your lab, you'll be able to play around with protection zones as well as snapshots so that you can see those. Metro availability is that ability to run everything in the highest fault tolerant environment. So the moment that something fails, your entire environment will shift over to the secondary data center. This will allow you to keep running from a business continuity standpoint, and the applications will be written to both locations at the same time, which means that you could have a near zero RPO to bring up your workloads in an HCI environment. So you're not going to have to rely on some of those backup products anymore. This can be brought right into that simplistic Nutanix form and allow you to jump in and set up a site within minutes for it, because you can have this within a 5 to 10 millisecond round trip will allow you to do this. So as you can see, we said that our primary data center went offline, and everything would get shifted over right away for it. So you don't need any, you'll have a synchronous replication for the third site for the witness. Everything's API driven. You can make your custom run books for your DR for it. And the biggest part is there's no data loss here. So this might also be useful for a VDI standpoint. Let's say you have your users that are provisioned for persistent desktops, but you can protect those into a second site. So if something happens to that site, as BC is well aware with some of the flooding that we had over here, everything could get failed over to a second site over in Kelowna or in Vancouver if they were located out in the Fraser Valley for us. Now, another fun way of doing protections with Nutanix is you can do those protection zones to a cross hypervisor. So if you are a VMware shop today and you're using VMware, but let's say you want to have protection off-site, but you don't want to spend the additional money, you can have that backup DR going to that secondary Nutanix box that can be running AHV for it. That will reduce some of your costs and licensing, as well as having that BCDR kind of product in a single pane. So you're not having to jump around to multiple different products to have a redundant solution. You can look at automatic migration and configuration of the VM for as it stands up. It will convert it from a VMware VMDK to an AHV file for it. Now, I want to kind of spend a little bit of time on what we're going to be learning about today. So within the lab, when you sign up, we're going to run through spinning up virtual machines. We're going to configure some storage in AHV for it. We're going to go through a navigation of the Prism dashboard so you can get a good feel of what the system actually looks like, play around with diving into VM statistics, network statistics, storage statistics in there. We can run capacity analysis for it, and which will allow you to then predict some resource needs in the lab. So at that point, I'm going to end the slideshow because I want to actually keep this a little bit more interactive if possible for it. So I'm going to bring up my environment for testing. So jumping into Nutanix, this is going to be something that you're all going to see very soon in your own environment. So you will get a link that we can log into, which is your own personalized Nutanix instance for the demo purposes later. So feel free to create as many VMs as you want, play around. You can try and break it, and then we'll get Dan on the back end here to try and fix it for us all. But the main point here is this is your initial look. So moving to Nutanix, this will give you, this is your day-to-day screen. You log in the morning, you grab your coffee. This is what you're going to be staring at for it. So which gives us a quick cluster-wide IOPS. It gives you ability to see what your current hypervisor is, how much storage is free, how many VMs are currently provisioned, and that could be from an on and an off stage as well, and suspended and paused. You can see what your hardware summary is, your current cluster usage. Now that is a little bit easier to read than some of the other products out there. I love the percentages for it, and the health. So you can really kind of dive in, and this is all clickable. So you can end up clicking on anything that's on your environment or on this dashboard. It will take you to where you need to go. So in this demo environment we have, I'm going to click on our initial for the VMs or health. So let's go take a look at what our current health is. You'll see that we have 3 hosts that are in here. And we can see that we have current capacity. Looks like there's a bit of a issue here for the warning for the health. So click on that one and then go into our warning to actually see exactly what it is. So this one tells me that it has issue with demo AHV3 So our third host has a bit of a capacity issue off of it. So just a warning to say, hey, it's getting a little bit full. So allows you to go through. You can say, yeah, we understand what that is, and go from there. So, and you would be able to see causes of failure. So it will even give you your resolution. So in this sense, this one here, I clicked on CVM system non-partition. Well, it says remove one unneeded click bundles via Prism and log collector. So it will tell you exactly where to troubleshoot your environment as well. We jump back into the main screen. I'm going to go through first VM. So if we jump into the VM information, this will tell you all your information from what your top VM memory usage is, VMs by controller latency, and VMs by controller IOPS. It'll also give you your latest events based on VM standpoint. So all these in the demo environment here are just recovery points. I'm not expecting anything else since we're there. Clicking on the table, everything here is searchable. So Nutanix being founded by a person, by the founder of Google Files, obviously you'd have global search. So you can search test and bring up some of our tests without having to go through all the pages for it. We filtered 10 VMs out of 94 that have the word test in it. We wanted to create a VM, and you're going to walk through this later yourself here. But I want to show a very quick here how quickly this is to go through. Everything is wizard based and drop downs. So we're going to call it test-b. We're going to put 4 CPUs, and we're going to do 8 gigs of memory. We're going to add a storage disk on top of this. All right. So we're going to clone it from an image here. We're going to have our Windows 12 image, for example, which will have a size of 40 gigs for a hard drive. And we'll click add. You'll see that we've added the disk here. So this will get, when we click create later on, it will clone from that image and create this, this Windows VM. Now, you're going to have to add a network card, and we'll jump into network. But as you can see here, just quick drop down for network. You'll see the VLAN ID is here. You can add it as a connected or a disconnected state for it. So if you want to bring up a machine but not have it connected to the network just yet, that is completely available. And we'll click add onto that environment. So now we have a network card that is on VLAN 1024 named unmanaged. It is going to have a 40 gig hard drive, 8 gigs of memory, 4 CPUs. And if we want, we can put affinity rules. So just like you've been using any type of VMware in the past, within AHV, you have affinity rules as well, and anti-affinity rules, which are all customizable that you can set in here. So I'm going to click save, and up at the top, you can see what's happening here live as it gets provisioned out. I'm going to let that one go for a little bit, but I'm going to click on the demo PC here, which created a little bit earlier. And from down here, you'll see that, hey, this machine is turned on with the green dot, picked up an IP address, it's got memory. Now you can launch a console directly from here. And then you are right into the environment. So you can see this is a Prism Central VM, and I'd be able to log in here for it. and then start working. You have options to take a snapshot. This is right at the top. You can power it off, and you can mount an ISO for it if you have any ISOs that are available in your guys' environment. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions here. Does anyone on here have any questions about starting or creating VMs? So Jonathan, the question that you posted, and thanks for putting a question in, is can you have a separate console like VMware offers, or is it always browser based? So this is always browser based for the console. So it's an HTML5 console that you'll be able to access there. We'll work on anything from a mobile phone to Internet Explorer, which I hope we're probably not all using anymore, through to Chrome. No problem. So if I'm going to go back to the home screen, we're going to jump into the networking. So Nutanix's networking is really interesting from a visual standpoint. So you'll be able to quickly see where any issues could be, or trying to find out where your VMs are connected to. So if I look at the like a demo CIM01, see that currently it's hosted on AHV3, and it is currently also connected into Ethernet 2, which is a 10 gig port, and it is currently connected and active. And it is going to an unknown switch on the back end. So if you had your own switch, you'd be able to map these out for it. You'll also see here that there is a dotted line, which is your active passive. So that gives you your redundancy for that VM. So you know if this NIC fails, and it could be from the switch or from the back end port, you'll end up failing over seamlessly on the back end to the Ethernet 3 port on the back of that current host. Now, and I'm gonna ask you here, how are we for signups for the demo lab?
Well, I have. You can hear me here, I hope. I have everybody's names on the list that's signed. That's here on the page, but I only see right now. Refresh one more time. I only see 3 people that actually grabbed the material, but no worries. We'll flash up the screen up with people's names on it and the username that we're going to assign to them. As well, I'm going to throw a document, share a document with you folks for your access. If that works right now, right? I'm not sure if this is going to shut your screen down. I'm just sharing file. Share a file. Okay, we'll stop sharing. Okay, it will say it'll stop. Okay, yeah, I don't want to stop your demo here, Brian, but whatever.
Well, I'm just going to do a quick. Just want to do a quick overview of what we're going to be doing in the lab, because I want to make sure I give everyone here enough time to actually jump in and do a little bit of lab, so that they can also ask any questions here. So when you sign up and you log into the workbook, you're going to end up seeing the technology overview. We're going to give you your username and your HPOC password, so that you're able to log in to the environment. And from here, you'll get the same screens that I was just showing you in here. So you'll see your Prism Central, your storage VMs, and then we'll run through the overview of what Prism Element is. And Prism Element is that Prism workspace. So there's two flavors. There's the cluster-based, which is Prism Element, and then there's Central. Central would be for your multi-management of multiple clusters. So if we go back to the home on here, you'll see this Prism Central, and this would be able to launch your Prism Central, which would help you manage, say, 3-4 clusters of Nutanix at the same time. We won't need to go through and do that on this one. It's a way to go through. Next, we will go into some storage configuration, which will run through an overview, and we'll run through and have like a test, which you'll go through creating a storage container, which will have your initials. You'll put a 500 gig advertisement capacity for it, and then we will publish that, and we will end up using that for the lab to provision our VM, which will come afterwards. So we'll then go through and do a network configuration, and this lab should take probably, if you're gonna rush through it, probably about half an hour. You wanna take more time and play around, you have up to 24 hours to stay in this environment, and then it will get blown away at the end of it. So you'll end up going through creating a network, and you'll end up seeing some of the other people's networks on here as well. So if a VLAN ID is already taken, just choose a different one in here as well. You'll go through deploying workloads. We'll look at managing workloads. So here you'll go through cloning machines, migrating a VM between hosts, configuring your affinity policy, high availability and dynamic scheduling for you as well. So these are your typical like day-to-day management tasks that you as an administrator would most likely be going through for creating VMs. And lastly, we're going to go through data protection. So this is going to be configuring your VM snapshots for it, so that you can instantly fall back to any snapshot in the event of a failure, ransomware within your environment as you get that. So, and at this time, I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm gonna let you throw up the environment so that everyone on here will be able to log in. And so everyone's aware, we've got roughly about 20 minutes or so, and then I'm going to turn it over to Trevor to do our mixology drinks. So hopefully you all have that handy, and I will be here to answer any questions kind of as we go through.
Hello, hello. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing well, Trevor. So you getting excited for doing our mixology drinks soon?
I heard you say earlier that the daiquiri is more your beverage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
you got me with the habanero blood orange.
Good stuff. Well, listen, I will look forward to showing that to you shortly. Okay.
That is perfect.
Awesome.
So, and by the way,
Awesome.
that is quite the setup that you have back there.
Well, thank you very, very much. Yes, I'm very proud of my little studio I have here.
So, all right. So, Dan, you got the environment, the account usernames up here from everyone that is joined.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions on how to access the labs?
So I'm gonna post it in the chat here, how to get on here as well. So you guys have that there, because I can't show it all on one screen. But
So Cassandra did post the hands-on workshop information.
Yeah.
So that should be just above Jonathan's question there.
existing. Okay. Okay, so it only takes part of my screen here. So let me throw some more up. So if you see, everybody should have their name if you don't have it already down. But this is how you access the lab. So your first thing you do is you want to get into the. Jesus, this thing cuts it off too. I'm just going to share my screen here.
I'm getting an error. I get
Already.
a specific machine was not found. Please inform your system administrator. I was able to log in and everything, got a desktop icon, but then it gave me that error.
Okay, so you're able to get into the VPN, but you're not able to get into the actual account itself.
No, I mean, like once I logged in.
Yeah, you should have had a Windows. Which one did you use? The Parallels or the Frame?
The Parallels.
Okay, yeah. And once you get in there, did you see a desktop to click?
Yes, and that's what
Okay.
that's when it gave me the error. Basically, it says a specific machine was not found. Please inform your system administrator.
Okay. Who's that talking here? Sorry.
It's Joe.
Okay, Joe. Okay. Joe, can I get you to try? Maybe I'll get you to try another one just to be sure that is. Try user 12. See if that gets you in.
Hey, Dan, I'm getting a blank screen you're sharing right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Just a sec here. Okay, let me share my screen again. Around.
Now, was there a password that went with that one? It's on there for the Parallels. Is it the NX2 Tech 825?
Yes. So that password is a universal password for this bootcamp. So you can use that. That's the same password you use to get into your access to your lab. So the lab access, be it Parallels or the Frame, you can use that, and you will get and then the actual access to the clusters themselves will get you down into that's the same password as well. So these are your cluster IPs, and the password is all the same. So it's either to get into Prism is your admin, and the N2X Tech 825 password, and then the CVM credentials.
All right, just so you're aware, and apologies everyone for small technical difficulty on this one. I'm getting the same error for user 20. Did a quick test.
Okay. Just one sec here. Luckily, I have another lab here, so just one sec. It was working here this morning.
Has anyone else been able to try with the Frame credential?
Yeah, is the Frame work for you folks?
Hi, this is Jonathan. I was able to log in with the Frame.
Okay, so Frame is working. The Parallels isn't for some reason. Okay. If you folks could try if you need Parallels, the Frame won't work, let me know. I do have another cluster. We can try that on, but try the Frame out first.
Okay, are you able to bring the usernames up for everyone again?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Frame looks like it worked for me.
Perfect.
Better. Everybody see my screen now? The users, everybody should have their username by now. I'll just scroll down to the actual cluster information. So you guys have that in front of you here. See that? So once you're logged into Frame, you're going to open up the browser and get over to the cluster. It's probably the hardest part here is once you get into it is actually just getting in. That's the problem we find with these labs. That's why we have at least three different ways to get in. Seems firewalls or in our case, some reason our VDI, our Parallels VDI section, it's actually not our client. The Frame is actually our client. So, but the other two are.
It's a good marketing ploy for you, Dan. There, Parallels does not work. Frame works no problem.
Is our new product, of course. It is one of our few products that can be used without any HCI infrastructure in place. It can be a complete software as a service, and you can actually reference back to an AHV based cluster, which this is built on, and this gives you the ability to provision. So the front end for Frame is actually in the cloud, which we run. And all the administration is managed through the cloud, through that web front end. But the desktops themselves, they can be Amazon, they can be in Azure, they can be in Google, or HV, as I mentioned. So, and it's pretty snappy performance.
I was going to say, it's for companies that have that don't want to be tied to Azure virtual desktops and any outages that might be specifically for Azure, which there was one 2 weeks ago. Frame is a good option to have a multi-cloud strategy for your VDI for it, so you're not tied to a specific cloud, because you can provision out via AWS, Azure, GCP, or like Dan said, on-prem clusters as well. So the Frame client does work for me as well. So hopefully that should resolve everyone's issues.
Yeah, let's let me know how you're making out. You can certainly, if you run into any issues, feel free to open up the chat there, type in the chat. I'll be watching the chat, and we can certainly.
Dan, are you able to link or do a copy and paste of the cluster IP into the chat for everyone, just so they have that?
Yeah, I am sharing it now, but it is right here. But I'll put that in there as well.
My eyes are not as good as they once were.
Is it too small? My apologies. All the information there. All right, that looks to be as though it actually fit into the chat text window. There is some limitation of the. Is this WebEx?
Yes, it is. It is WebEx.
Right on. So as Ryan mentioned, who did a spectacular job. Thanks, Ryan. That was pretty impressive walkthrough. You're hired. Yeah, that's you are the first. I think the first in Canada actually outside Nutanix to do a bootcamp presentation and host it. So very impressive. But
I appreciate everyone joining and coming on today to jump in, and whether it's I'm sure the alcohol incentive here might have been great as well for us, and nice way to kick off the end of the Tuesday for us coming up. But yeah, as anyone on the call here, if you're looking for any kind of in-depth, deeper conversations, like feel free to reach out to myself. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me, you can send an email to myself here, ryan.beecham@cdw.ca. I'm always happy to jump on a call, walk through any use cases you might have, answer any more in-depth questions if you have any, or you just want to talk about home brewing or what it's like on the West Coast over here. I'm always available.
Awesome. And as Ryan mentioned too, this lab will be available till I believe till tomorrow night at midnight or shortly after Eastern time, I believe it is. But if you're looking for, if you have interest and you want to learn more, we could certainly get another POC for you folks. Of course, once you talk to our great folks at CDW, and we'll get you guys there. And as well, we have our test drives as well, as Ryan mentioned, which is sort of like the test drive for, there is one for AOS and AHV up there for private cloud. And it's similar to this environment, except it's kind of a played environment. You won't have the full freedom of this is a real true hosted cluster that gets spun up. These get reserved and spun up, and then they get taken down after 48 hours. The test drives are somewhat similar, but a little more restrained in your freedom, but they do give really good walkthroughs, much simpler and easily to see all the features. They typically last 1 to 4 hours, and you can go on test drive anytime. You just got to put your email address in. It'll send you a link almost instantly, and then you got access to that environment almost instantly. And you typically get it for up to 4 hours to try things out and see the features.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if anyone, like, given this is the first kind of foray into AHV, and if this is the first time you're seeing it, this is by no means the where the conversation stops. As you're going down there, I might highly look at some of the automation and that with Flow and Calm that you can look at in the future for it. What I'm seeing in technology space these days is IT companies are moving away from just manually provisioning and going to a more automated workflow. And Nutanix really does help in that sense.
The lab, I see a question come up there. I'll just type in. Yeah.
Yeah, I was already on it.
You beat me to it, Ryan.
Yeah, Jonathan, is this your first time seeing Nutanix from a hands-on standpoint?
No, actually, we have access to the demo, the online demo. Yeah, so I already had a quick overview, but I think this is way more complete than what I've done so far.
Perfect. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on after running through some of the lab pieces for it and how it kind of fits into any type of initiatives that you guys have coming up.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward to go through it.
All right, I am going to step away for 2 seconds because in about 10 minutes, we're going to jump into the creating our cocktails for it. And then, because I think it's enough time for everyone to at least log in, start, then we'll have a small break and let Trevor do his initial chat and tell us about the first drink that we're going to do as well.
Awesome. I'm still here, folks, if you need me. So we'll be watching the chat as well. But if you have any questions, just feel free to throw them out there.
And I have a question for you.
Sure.
Is that your real background? What is that?
Yes, it is. I like your bar too. It is real.
Dan, where do you live?
I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
My
Land of the drinking.
favorite province in the entire country. Scotia, man. Woo! I love I head straight to the market at Pier 21 every time I'm in Halifax, man.
Oh yeah.
Love it there. Yeah, man. One of these days, I'm going to try and get out to the Cabo Trail and the.
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah.
Where do they make the wine?
Annapolis Valley is a big area down
Annapolis
here. Yeah.
Valley. Woo, man! Listen, I cannot wait to get out of Ontario. With all due respect to anybody who's from Ontario, that's where I'm at. But I want to listen in July. That's my plan. I'm coming out there. I'm telling you.
We saw a lot of people from Ontario come down here this year and buy houses.
Really? Yeah, you know what? I remember because weren't you guys getting some shipping, a boom in the shipping industry, like building ships?
Oh yeah, that and there's things are really picking up down here for sure. Yeah.
Are you done making that bridge? That bridge is built already now, right?
Which one? To
Well, you
PEI?
got two now.
Oh yeah, we have two. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, that's amazing.
No.
Yeah, man.
Lots going on.
Hey, and if I can go off on a bit of a hospitality tangent here, is the bicycle thief still intact? Did that make it through COVID?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's still bustling. Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
The downtown scene is still going. Yeah.
Yeah. Convention
We
center.
were there about a month ago. Yeah. So.
Oh, amazing. That's really great. I'm genuine, man. I can't wait. Listen, my biggest disappointment is I now have 3 kids and I wanted to take them to see the tugboat, but apparently Hamilton stole your tugboat.
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah,
did I hear that you
Theodore's
have one tugboat?
No, it's Theodore the tugboat.
This is not just any tugboat, Ryan. Come on. Still.
Have you ever seen the show like what is that show called? Is it called Theodore the Tugboat? I guess
it is.
But,
it is.
It's a children's show, and there is a life-size version of that. It's huge of this tugboat.
Well, listen, Dan. One of these days, you and I are going to go for a schooner. I'm going to pack in as many Haligonian references as I possibly can.
Don't let those jokes get too old.
Oh, that is rough.
Monsieur Beauchamp, where are you from, sir?
So I am from the Vancouver West Coast side.
Oh, well. Listen, Vancouver's a big place. Which part of Vancouver are you from?
I'm from Port Coquitlam area. So the Tri-Cities.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're slowly doing the migration east for it. So
I see. Because right now you guys are the bookends. You guys are bookending this virtual session we're doing. We got coast to coast. Very nice. Mm-hmm. Hey, listen. The good thing about Vancouver right now is it's cheap as chips just to fly out there. I think it's cheaper than going out to Halifax, if I'm correct.
Yeah, well, we got some nice ski. We're gonna have some very nice ski season this year with how much rain that we're getting. Sorry, Trevor, I was gonna say, why don't we start with maybe our first drink while everyone's kind of doing the lab.
Hot dog.
I'm
drinking a lab,
having a beverage while walk through the Nutanix AHV session.
I'm not early, or am I early?
You know what? We're maybe a little bit early, but
hey, listen, fine. Yeah. I'm supposed to be 10 minutes late. I can say that. I'm guiding. So. All right.
Dan, do you want to stop sharing your screen here, and we'll throw Trevor up here on the main stage.
All right.
I figure out how to stop.
It was just to burn some daylight. I'll go through a quick checklist just to make sure nobody's scrambling. No one's on video, so I can't see them scrambling. That's usually the fun part about doing this. I see people who are they're freaking out because they don't have any ice, So yes, ice is an essential. If you have crushed ice, if you have one of those fancy schmancy refrigerators that makes your ice, then good for you. Good investment if you like mojitos. But if you don't, I can show you exactly how to make crushed ice. It's pretty straightforward. And then you're going to need your ingredients that were sent to you. Woo, you got some goodies. We've got our orange or blood orange. It's not just any orange. Blood orange and habanero syrup, as well as a little bit of our mojito mint syrup, which is great for not just mojitos, but also mint juleps. If you guys like mint julep, Ryan, you drink a mint julep or what?
No, I've only heard of it. I'm curious about that one. I might have to pick your brain about that one later on.
All right, there's not much left, so just be gentle, okay? So the other one you're gonna need is your club soda or your sparkling water, whatever your preference is. I believe you guys have, you might have Canada Dry. I have clearly Canadian because I'm a throwback kind of guy. When's the last time you saw a bottle of that stuff?
Hey, that's making a great comeback.
Yes, indeed. Are you did you grow up in the 90s?
Certainly did.
Yeah. Attaboy! Woo! Fantastic. And then we also need some white rum. White rum, usually, you can use Bacardi Superior. I mentioned earlier, I referenced Guyana. I'm using the Guyanese rum. That's how loyal I am to the country. El Dorado, 3-year-old. But, white rum is great, but you can also use an amber rum if you have that in your class. Hey, Ironworks Distillery out in Halifax, Nova Scotia makes a pretty mean rum, my friends. I think Dan might have a bottle. It's true. It's true. Hey, Dan, if you want, you can correct me again. I will probably go off on a bit of a tangent here, but the Rum Runners are notoriously from Halifax, Nova Scotia, my friends. Big history. If you want to look it up, and Mr. Google will tell you all about it, or Mrs. Google, depends on whoever you prefer to go to and trust most. Now, the tools you're going to need: a nice glass like this. This is typically if you go into a bar, whether you're in Vancouver or Halifax or Ontario, doesn't matter where you are. This is a pint glass. I'm very generous. It says 1.5 ounces of rum, but I usually put 2 ounces. I'm not gonna lie. 1.5 ounces is what it calls for. If you want to add an extra half ounce, more power to you. I won't judge you. Next up, you're gonna want something to stir your mojito with, and I'll explain why. I use one of these fancy bartender long-handled bar spoons. You see them often in the bars. They're long-handled because they keep your hairy knuckles like mine and rings and stuff out of the glasses because you don't want any contamination, especially these days. All right. One of the ingredients I omitted was your limes. All right. You're going to put some freshly squeezed lime juice into your mojito. And then, in addition to your dehydrated lime slices, I would even add in a little bit of a spent lime shell just to let people know that it was freshly squeezed. And then the daiquiri, man, the daiquiri is the most balanced cocktail I've ever had if it's done properly. And that's really a great measure of your bartender's skill. If you ever go to a bar and you want to really, it's kind of like the, what's that sauce they put on the eggs? Hollandaise. Yes. If you can't make hollandaise, you cannot be called a chef. If you can't make a daiquiri properly, you need to exit stage right. So today, I'm going to show you the key to making a perfectly balanced daiquiri. Now, they both are kind of related simply because they have their origins in Cuba. Listen, Ryan, where are you? You disappeared. Am I okay to go now forward? All right. Well then, silence means yes in my I don't know, in my virtual world here of cocktails. So
You entirely caught me as I was doing the scramble of, hey, I should get my stuff at the same time.
I knew I would catch somebody. Am I good to go, Ryan?
You are, yep.
Fantabulous. All right, so both of these cocktails have their origins in Cuba. All right. Cuba is known as being a spot where you drink a lot of rum. Back in the day when it was prohibition, let's say, many Americans would travel from the United States, especially Florida, to Cuba to be able to drink. They even had a lot of booze cruises, they would call them, where people would just go out on their quick little 1 hour, 2 hour ride to Cuba, and they would party, and it was the daiquiri and the mojito that were quite the popular libation of the day, and also became even more popular because of a gentleman by the name of Ernest Hemingway. So Hemingway, of course, used to drink like a fish, and it's no different from these days where we typically, if you look at any alcohol brand out there these days, is owned or is endorsed by a celebrity. And so back in those days, if you look at guys like Ernest Hemingway or John F. Kennedy, those two guys really popularized the daiquiri because they drank them a lot, especially politicians. Even with the history of cocktails, you look like Ernest Hemingway's a writer, but if you look at JFK, Franklin D. Roosevelt, you look at Joseph Stalin. I don't know if it's a great example or not, but those guys used to drink a lot. And so when people saw them drinking, or they saw the folks in Hollywood drinking martinis, that's when the popularity of mixed drinks really took off, around between the 40s and the 60s, and then it slowed down a little bit in the 70s, had a resurgence in the 80s with movies like Cocktail with Tom Cruise, and then Coyote Ugly, and then there was Sex in the City. Ryan, did you see there's another Sex in the City coming out? They're beating that horse to death, man. It's crazy. And so then there's also Mad Men, which really made the old fashioned and the Manhattan popular. So the daiquiri and the mojito both owe their popularity to Mr. Hemingway, as well as Prohibition, when people went there and learned about it, and then they went back to the United States, to the mainland, and asked a lot of bartenders, "Can you make me a daiquiri? Can you make a mojito?" And they had to learn as a result. It was supply and demand, so to speak. When people demand it, you got to be able to supply it. Now, that.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Trevor, if everyone can, on the options for Trevor's screen, if you click the little tiny ellipses up in the top right, you can say add to or move to stage, so that we can see him a little bit better and his awesome little backdrop. But also so you can still have Dan's login credentials on the screen for as you go through our actual the lab as well.
All right, hopefully they can see me. Hopefully it's not high definition, because I didn't moisturize this morning. All right, so you don't need to know that. All right. Now, the key piece here, you want freshly squeezed lime juice. What you're going to do is you're going to cut your lime right down the belly. All right, the anatomy of the lime you're going to learn. The belly is right down the center here. At the end, you have two nipples. You can slice those off as well and make it a little easier for your squeezing. I'll move my glass so you can see it properly. Right down the center. So your lime should somewhat look like that. All right, not the other way. Not the way they cut the oranges when you're playing soccer. I don't know if they still do that or not. Anyways, I have a fancy little tool here I will introduce to you. This one's called a Mexican elbow. They use these to make margaritas. You can use that, or you can simply use your hands. All right. If you do use your hands, just brace the citrus against the side, like so, and then crush it against your glass. Now, if you don't have a strong glass like mine, don't even bother doing that, because you may indeed injure yourself. So that's why we have tools just like this. You can get them anywhere pretty much. Probably have one in your house. The citrus press can get just about every ounce of juice out of your lime as you need. Now, the amount of lime juice you're going to require is 3/4 ounces. All right, just shy of 1 ounce. 0.75. Right. Now, I've known the exact amount just by eyeballing, because I've made so many in this particular glass. So I know exactly where to end. If you're wondering, how does that guy know? But if you want to measure accurately, you can use a tool called a jigger. Jigger, this one right here. It's got two sides, a 1 ounce over here, 2 ounce on the other side. Inside the interior of this here jigger, this little tool that all the fancy bartenders use, it has all the markings: 1 ounce, 1.5 ounce, and then it has 2 ounces if you pour to the meniscus. Handy tool to have if you don't have one. Now, the next ingredient we're going to add, you put in the sour. Now you want to add the sweetness. The sweetness for this one is your delicious mojito syrup. All right. So you're going to add equal parts. So another 3/4 ounces of your mojito syrup. It's basically mint, sugar, and water. You boil them together, strain out the solids, and the solids would be mint leaves. And then you put that in a bottle just like this. You can refrigerate it, but you guys have been fortunate enough to be sent this stuff. But just in case you run out, and hopefully you will if you enjoy my mojito, then you will be able to make it yourself. You can pretty much make any kind of syrup that you like. If you add, blueberries to, a cup of sugar and a cup of water, you add strawberry, coconut, mango, you name it, and you can make that style of mojito or daiquiri. And so it just, as we say in the business, it collapses a step, makes you a little bit quicker because you don't have to muddle any of the fruit. You don't have to take that extra couple of steps to infuse the drink with the flavor of the fruit. All right, so here we go. Equal parts sour to sweet. All right, next, what we're going to do is we're going to crush our ice. All right, so I pre-crushed it like they do on those cooking shows. Walk with Yan comes to mind. What's the other one? The Italian guy. I'm so old. Here we go. Crushed ice right here. We're going to add 1 scoop to our glass. Right? Probably wondering why only, make it another scoop, 2 ounces or two scoopfuls. Because when you pour the next couple of ounces of soda, you don't want it to, you know, bubble over, because ice and carbonation will sometimes do that. Now, if you're drinking a non-alcoholic version, it's constructed and built the exact same way. Obviously, just omit your, your alcohol. All right. So that's what you should look like right there. Beautiful. Okay. Next up, as I mentioned, Dan, Ryan, and Co. 2 ounces, or you can go on the conservative side and follow the recipe. Go with 1.5 ounces. Here we go. Beautiful. Now, once you've done this, you take a look at it and you're like, okay, what's the next move we got to make here? You want to stir. I'll give you a good reason why. The first ingredient you poured, which is the lime juice, is sitting at the bottom. The last ingredient is obviously sitting on top, the club soda. If I were to drink this with the straw, and I probably will, the first thing I'm going to sip is lime juice. And that's all I'm going to sip. It's not going to be a fun experience. And if I sip it without the straw, the first thing I'm going to taste is club soda. So in order to get that nicely blended and married flavor, you're just going to make sure that you hit the bottom and bring those flavors to the top, like so. All right, great. You could do the exact same thing with the straw if you don't have a fancy bar spoon. Or you can also use a chopstick, a wooden spoon, which makes me nervous. All right. Just the word wooden spoon scares me. All right. So once your beverage looks just like so, you're going to add a little bit more of your ice. Now, if you were to crush your own ice, you take one of these towels like this. A tea towel is fine. You can grab a pot, or you can grab a giant mallet. This one I scored when I used to work with the Blue Jays. I used to teach them how to make mojitos. They all signed it. And you can just crush as you please. You don't want to crush it into a dust. You want it to be kind of, look like little diamonds almost. All right. Grab your club soda. Monsieur Beauchamp, I have a question for you, sir. You're from the West Coast, but I keep talking like a Frenchman.
Yeah.
Well, like I'm francophone. Well, I am actually francophone. So,
Well,
are you pouring from a can?
I am.
All right, listen. If you're pouring from a can, just do the straight pour. But there's always a nice little kind of trick I do where I put the bottle in contact with the spoon, and you can actually pour. It's a nice little bar trick that you can do.
That is a very fancy way to pour your club soda.
Not my first rodeo, buddy. All right, I'll give it one last stir like so. And you've got these super cool, I mentioned these earlier, these super duper cool dehydrated lime wheels. See those right there? Now, what's really great, they look like little ninja stars. You're working in the bar, that's a quick way to garnish. You're going to drop those right in there like so. If you have mint at home, feel free to put the mint in. That's fine as well. I usually place my straw right where the mint is, so you get a nice fresh burst. And then, salut!
So we're using both of these, yes?
Both of these what?
Both of the lime wedges or the lime wheels? For it?
Or you can take one, distribute them evenly. Show equal amount of love. And listen, if you still have that spent lime shell, because you're using crushed ice on this one, you can just drop it right on top like that. All right.
Oh, look at that.
That's a lovely little addition because listen, I am a person who, whenever I'm making drinks, I don't like to waste, right? So I like to use all the garnishes or any of the spent fruit. I try to incorporate them into something else. If I slice up limes and I don't use them by the end of the night, I will boil them with some sugar and water, and then you can create a syrup that you can make lemonade with for anybody who's having a non-alcoholic beverage the next day. You can use that in any kind of way or shape or form. And so when I do crush these limes or a lemon or an orange, if it's going into a drink, it just makes sense to use it as a garnish. So that's just a little something I do, and it's worked for me so far. So I don't want to change it. Next up. Now, the daiquiri was created in Cuba in a place called Daiquiri, the Daiquiri Mines, in fact. Now, the Daiquiri Mines was run by a guy named Jennings S. Cox. Now, Jennings used to be, a fan of cocktails as well, and one day he decided to celebrate with the folks that he managed, and he created this beverage out of the local sugarcane syrup, as well as the local rum that was produced in Cuba, as well as the limes that were found all over the island. And so it's one of those drink local kind of things back in the day. And so I'm going to show you how to do this now. You can do two things. I know that some people like to drink them in a coupe glass or a martini glass straight up, just like you would a martini. You can have your choice. And then others, they like to drink out of a rocks glass like so. Now, if you're drinking out of a rocks glass, you want to have some rocks in there. And I've got some really delightful looking cubed rocks like so. Some people like to drink them over crushed ice as well. It's just a typical amount of, you know, it's basically up to you and how diluted you like your daiquiris or your drinks. So, and it does make a difference because if you put crushed ice in this mojito right now, it will melt a little quicker than if you use something like the cubed ice that we have right here. All right. So the more surface you have on the ice you're using, the longer it's going to take for it to melt. And so typically I use the example of a punch bowl. Whenever you make punch, guys, you will typically put a big block of ice in the punch bowl. And then if you're going to be making something like, I don't know, one of those smoothie daiquiris, when you blend up, it tends to melt a lot quicker and get more diluted than something like a punch. A punch is sitting out there all night. You really don't want it to get watered down over that period of time. So that's why you use, different ice for different purposes. And it really does affect the dilution that you're going to have and the experience of how, your drink is going to taste. If that's
So
enough, be really crazy. Like even I do. I walk around with one of these coolers whenever I go somewhere with my own ice. And you'll sometimes see those really beautiful cubes that are translucent. A little tip: if you put the ice mold in a little cooler like that and then put it in your freezer, they will come crystal clear. I don't know what the science is behind it, but a lot of people want to know, how do you get super clear ice so it looks like a crystal? That's how you do it. You put it in a cooler and then you put it in your freezer, and then away you go, and you have a very photogenic cocktail, especially the old fashions, right? If you do like those. Now, the key to a delicious daiquiri, as I mentioned before, dilution is important. So I'm going to add 2 scoops. Where did my scoop go? There it is. I'm going to add 2 scoops of ice to my shaker right off the bat because you do want a decent amount of dilution in your daiquiri. One more. All right. Next up, we're going to add our blood orange and habanero syrup. So if you like it spicy, this is also a great syrup. If you're not going to use it on just the daiquiri, try it in a margarita. This is perfect, especially if you're having Mexican food, because the spice on spice is nice. Look at me making rhymes.
I was going to say, so you're saying tequila, and that's going to go very well.
Oh, yeah. Do you like tequila?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Beautiful. All right. So you are going to add exactly 1 ounce of your syrup and another single ounce of your lime juice to your daiquiri. All right. Same method as before. You can measure, and circling back to measurements. If you don't have the tools, it's not a big deal. You can always use one of these quarter cup 60 ml measurements in your baking drawer, and that will also get you through, a day at the bar. I've done it actually while I was working, because sometimes another person grabs your tools, puts them somewhere, takes them home. The key to a good bartender is being creative and not letting anything get in your way. So even if you don't have those professional tools, you can still make a very, very good daiquiri with a couple bar hacks. All right. Ooh, good thing I was wearing my glasses on that one. Hi, gee wang. All right. Put my spent lime shell aside again. Now, if you do not have a shaker, Ryan, you have a shaker?
I do have a shaker.
I know Dan has. Dan, let me see your shaker, man. I want to see. Ah, right on. Okay. You have the Boston Shakers. Boston Shaker, if you didn't see the gentleman holding it up, Boston Shaker looks something like this. All right. There you go. Thank you very much, Dan. All right. There is another option if you did want to use something a little more on the fancy side. The Japanese, they love the three-piece cobbler. Looks like this. All right. You can use the tippy top as a measure, and then you've also got a built-in strainer. All right. This one is super popular in Japan, where some of the finest bartenders I've ever met live. And then you can also use this one. It's called a Parisian shaker. A Parisian shaker gets its name because during Prohibition, which I referenced earlier, a lot of bartenders left the United States, flew over to Europe, and landed in Paris, where they learned about Amaros, and they learned about vermouths and sherries and French liqueurs and wines. And then they started to integrate those into their cocktails. When the bartenders from the United States learned from those bartenders in Europe, specifically in Paris, they brought back these Parisian shakers to New York especially. And you could always go to a bar and know that your bartender, if he or she was using this particular shaker, had been to Paris, learned how to make them in the European way, and you can get yourself a nice European style cocktail from that individual. All righty, so without further delay, we've added our lime, we've added our syrup, again, equal parts. You're going to add a healthy 2-ounce pour, your white rum, your superior, your mother superior. Right. Ah, yes. So, Dan and Ryan, I keep referencing you guys because I can actually see your faces, but this is key. I've been to I've seen bartending classes. I've seen bartenders who are professionals give it 2 shakes. All right, 2 shakes of a shaker is not going to work. I see Dan laughing. Yes, I have a terrible quote. It's not a urinal. You want to shake more than twice. All right, you want to give it about a 20-second shake. Here we go. Are you guys ready, Dan? Ryan? Here we go. We got about 5 seconds. All right. That ought to do it. Your shake. Look at you, Dan. You got good technique, my friend. Now, your shaker.
Lots of practice.
Nice and frosty like that. All right. If you put your tongue on your shaker and it sticks, it's ready. I'm just saying. All right. It's gonna be a lot of that happening in the next month. All right. Ew. As I mentioned, you are gonna pour this on the rocks. That means with ice. Fill your beautiful rocks glass just like so. So don't go light on the ice. Now the reason why I say that is the daiquiri was born in the tropics, where you would drink something like this to cool down. So 1 ice cube will not suffice. You want to make sure that the glass is nice and cold and that the drink is going to help you cool down. Although right now it's already cool enough as is. You're going to put your hawthorn strainer on the top of your shaker, and you're going to pour just like so. Sweet. Perfect. You always want to make sure that the level of liquid is about a pinky below the lip of your glass, because you don't want someone to spill it all over themselves. And on many occasions, that can happen, especially after 2 or 3 of these. Now, do not forget your garnishes. Your dehydrated lime, plop them right in there. And as I mentioned before, you could take your spent lime shell, float it right on top again to let your guest know that you took the time to squeeze it fresh. And this is important. People think I'm making this stuff up, but back in the old days, they used to use powder. Look at that, straight from Kmart.
Lime party juice. Wow.
Ryan, you're from the 90s. You recognize that Kmart price tag?
I recognize the Kmart, that's for sure.
All right. And then we got, look at this, whiskey sour mix. Look at that stuff. This is what they used to use in cocktails back in the days when the drinks were inferior. Always use fresh juice, and if you can cook the syrup yourself, that's also a fun thing to do. Tons of recipes out there. Now, I will open it up to anyone who has a question, including you two gentlemen. Anything for me?
I was gonna say these are fantastic for it, and that blood orange is quite good.
Listen, blood orange daiquiris, perfect, and I'll tell you why. Because as we're allowed to accommodate more people at our homes during the holidays, blood orange is a very seasonal flavor, and this can be made. You can pre-make these daiquiris, and what I mean by that is, without the ice, you can just add a little bit of the syrup, the sour, the rum. You can create a punch if you wanted to out of the same proportions that we've used today. And you could just put it out on the table and let people, do the serving from it. If you have a bartender on hand, they can just ladle it out, or you can have it on tap. And that's a big thing right now. Bartenders like to make their cocktails on tap so that when they get them ordered, they just kind of pour them like a beer. They're ready to serve, and away you go. So it's a very quick and efficient, good holiday libation for those of you who might be having a couple extra folks drinking with you. I'm hypnotized by the lights on Dan's roof right now.
I'm just gonna say, like, the people that are on camera here, I am woefully unprepared for having the proper background of like an actual like bar system. I feel like I need to go upstairs and point that at the back of my brewery for it. Just
you got a nice bar there.
Ryan, if I might ask, Ryan, what type of beers do you brew?
So I currently have a coffee blonde ale that is on tap right now. I have a Kolsch, and I did a pineapple with Citra hops and Galaxy hops hazy IPA.
All right,
that was right before that one.
Dan, do you drink beer? You're from the East Coast. What kind of crazy question did I just ask? Dan, how do you feel about fruit in your beer?
Oh, it's awesome. No, it's great. Yeah, no, I brew beer too as well, but not quite as in depth as Ryan is for sure.
It's you guys both brew beer. It's like the East Coast, West Coast. Rob, you guys are like the Biggie and Tupac of beer right now.
Yep, absolutely. So like two years ago, I saw Dan's like picture of his setup, and I had to go and do something similar during the COVID pandemic lockdown. So now it's like, okay, now we're kind of I think I've surpassed him on my beer side, but his bar, I can't do anything against that one.
It's amazing. I really kudos to you, Dan, for having such a nice setup. It's gorgeous.
So your setup looks nice.
So listen, wow. I think we blew through the cocktails. I can babble on, but I think everybody's probably if I don't see any questions. So if we're good to go, you let me know, Mr. Beauchamp.
No, I think if no one else has any questions from the cocktails, Trevor, like, thanks again. Like, I have two very nice drinks that are sitting in front of me right now to sip this afternoon and sip away at. For anyone else on the lab and for joining today, thank you for joining. I'm going to be staying on for another 15-20 minutes. So if there's any follow-up questions that you have from the lab, let me know. If you haven't already grabbed your user account name and the password and IDs, let me know right now. I can happily send that through. I posted my email address in the chat earlier. So if anyone has any following questions later today, tonight, tomorrow morning, if you want to jump back into the lab, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Dan and Nutanix, thank you very much for setting up the lab and also helping out on the first CDW-led bootcamp. If anyone is interested in next year's the Enterprise Cloud, we're going to be scheduling that probably in the next couple months. So feel free to reach out and ask about that to your CDW reps, and we'll get you on the invite list to dive even deeper into Nutanix. And who knows, we might have Trevor return for more cocktails at that point.
Hey, that sounds great. And listen, you guys, don't forget to send me a couple of samples of your beer so I can see if it's legit. I'll send you my address.
drop it in the list. I will look at packaging one of my beers into the bottles next time.
You got it, man. Bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you, Trevor.
Bye. See you, Dan.
Is everybody still on the lab? How do they make it out?
I was just going to ask, does anyone have any questions on the lab? Is there any challenges that facing? Anything you're wanting to ask as you kind of go through? A couple people are still on. I know Jonathan's still on. Joe had to drop, same with Colin here. Let us know. Everything seems to be working. I've kind of gone through on the back end, done a couple of the tasks, so haven't found any issues yet. I was going to ask too, if anyone have any, does everyone like the cocktail hour? Was everyone able to follow along?
Boy, Punch must be working away. It's working away, Ryan.
You know what? It's good to hear for it.
Yeah, folks, we have other labs as well. If you guys are ever interested, we do. We have quite a bevy now, actually. We have some around Frame, of course, Era, our database product, our files product. We have a bootcamp around. Actually, it's on the test drive around using our clusters product, which is based on AWS. So basically, be able to migrate workloads from on-prem to AWS. Any refactoring of applications. Another feature too with Nutanix is you're able to take your license from on-prem and use that in the cloud as well, so you can transport that into the cloud without issue.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I did bring that up earlier, in that Nutanix is a software company, so you are not limited to hardware. If you need to, it is all portable licensing.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
The mojito. Need a bigger straw, but it's good.
Yeah, I'm very happy how everything turned out. Nutanix is definitely one of my favorite products to talk about here, just with talking with all of our customers and how to simplify day-to-day operations for it. That's one of my every client that I have is very happy moving over to it, as they're usually saving hours on the day for it. Renee, I was going to ask you on here, how long are we keeping the WebEx open today?
Completely up to you guys. If you guys are all done, I can close out WebEx, but I mean, you guys have until 5 o'clock, so I leave that up to you.
Nope, I'm happy to stay on here in case anyone has any questions for it. As you finish up the lab or have any questions later on, feel free to drop as needed, and by all means, feel free to reach out to any of the CDW account reps or your Nutanix rep or myself for any further questions as we dive in here. And I was going to ask you, what was your favorite between the two? Or does it?
I got a wife here now, and she's really sipping on the habanero. That's really good, eh? It's got a really different taste to it. That little bit of kick is just gives that little bit of bite.
Well, I added a little bit more of the habanero sauce than he said, because I wanted the kick.
Yeah, if you like, if you like spice, yeah, you'll love that. If you like hot foods, hot and spicy, that is right on.
The lime with it is good. But it was good too.
Yeah, thanks again, Ryan, for hosting this. This was awesome. First partner-led boot camp in Canada. Woo, jeez, and you got drinks too.
Drinks to boot. We gotta have the fun event here. Like
Absolutely.
As we get a little bit closer to in-person events in the future, hoping to see all of our customers and all of you back in person to go and actually celebrate and have fun while we work.
Yeah, awesome. When you head to Mexico, Ryan, tomorrow?
I'm off tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow.
Wow.
Tomorrow evening for it. I got one quick meeting in the afternoon or in the morning, and then it's Viva Mexico after that for a very blissful 9 days.
Nice. You'll be drinking some mojitos down there for sure. Enjoying some habanero.
As you can tell, I was taking a lot of notes so I could tell them exactly how I want it. It's yeah. It'll be a late night getting in.
Oh yeah, you land late, do you?
Yep. Trying to lose a day, but could not beat the pricing for some of those deals that popped up 6 months ago.
I bet, yeah.
Well, I don't know how close you are to the border, but I've heard that come November, we're going to be able to start traveling to the US again. Like, I live close enough to the border that it's like a 30-minute drive, and I could be popping down. So I'm looking forward to venturing back to Seattle and Portland coming up maybe January.
Yeah. No, we're about 6 hours away, but at least now I think what you're saying there is they're changing the testing now, so you don't have to get tests now, right? Yeah. For 72 hours, these short trips.
No testing for 72 hours. I'm assuming that the rest of the international travel will follow probably within a year.
Hope so. We don't need a fifth wave.
Right. Well, I think most of the people have dropped here. Point. Sophia, do you have any further questions? Anything we can kind of help out with for it?
No, I'm good, Ryan. I was just about to drop off.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate the time and hopefully you had fun. Yeah, we'll look forward to doing some more events coming up next year with everyone from the CDW and Nutanix team.
Thanks, everyone. You guys have been awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Renee, this time we can probably look at closing out the session here. And yeah, Dan, appreciate you kind of jumping on. Kim for staying on too. And Nick, I didn't see you on camera, but I'm sure you were multitasking away.
Yeah, it was great. Really glad we were able to kick off the first one. I hope all the customers on the line were able to get a lot out of it. And again, if there's any questions, please feel free to follow up with the resources here. And I'm definitely looking forward to getting into those drinks as well.
Did you do you have yours still to go?
Yeah, I've still got to make mine. I was actually waiting for my girlfriend to get home and try them together. So yeah, I'll let you know what the verdicts are tomorrow.
Sounds great. Look forward to it. All right. I guess like Dan, Kim, Nick, I'll talk to you guys all soon.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks, Nick.
Renee, if you want to end it on out, we can move on to the next follow-up meetings we all have.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.
You.
Bye.